If you want to start creating your own paintings, or if you want to buy some art supplies for your children, and at the same time if you're not sure about what materials to buy, this video may help you. I'm going to talk about the key acrylic painting materials that a beginner would need to start their art journey. There are 4 parts to this video, as given in this list. I'll go through these one by one. So let's get straight to it. First up is painting surfaces. With acrylic paints, you can create paintings on a range of surfaces like wood, stone, paper, fabric, glass, and so on. But for a beginner, there are 3 surfaces that I would recommend. These are acrylic paper, canvas panels, and canvases. Let's start with acrylic paper. This is most suitable for beginners. Acrylic paper is much thicker than standard paper and has a textured surface for the paint to latch onto. Let me bring it close to the camera so that you can see the surface. It's important to make sure that you buy acid-free paper. If the paper contains acid, this will damage both paper and paint, and your painting may not have a long life. Another important specification of paper is its GSM. It stands for grams per square meter. Higher the GSM, higher the weight and thickness of the paper. I would recommend using 300 GSM paper or above. Papers below this specification probably wouldn't have the required endurance to last until you finish your painting. Acrylic paper won't cost you as much as canvas panels or canvases. I bought these as a set of 2, so 32 sheets in total, which means I can make up to 32 paintings. For the same price, I would have received only 6 canvases of the same size. Here are some of the recent paintings that I created using acrylic paper. Next is canvas panel. This is also an excellent starting point for beginner artists. Canvas panel is slightly costlier than acrylic paper, but if you have the confidence to try it out, I think you should go for it. These are made of stretched cotton canvas attached to a cardboard panel. Always buy pre-primed canvas panels. Look for the phrase pre-primed on the packaging label or product description. This simply means that the canvas is primed with a material called gesso and is ready for painting. I recommend buying canvas panels of 280 GSM or above. Please remember to check the specifications and make sure that both the gesso and the cardboard panel are acid-free. I particularly like canvas panels that come primed with black gesso. You can create some amazing paintings on these black panels. Here are some of the recent paintings that I created. The third surface I would recommend is the canvas itself. Buying a canvas as a beginner would probably feel like jumping into the deep end straight away. But if you have the confidence, you should definitely go for it. Similar to canvas panels, canvases are made of gesso-primed cotton material, stretched and attached to a wooden frame. As always, make sure you're buying acid-free products and that the GSM is 280 or above. They come in a range of sizes, but for beginners, I would recommend buying canvases of length up to 50 centimeters and not more. Remember that canvas is costlier than paper and panel. So if you do not want to spend much money when you're learning and practicing, I would recommend sticking to acrylic paper initially. For acrylic pads and panels, Amazon is the best place to shop. But for canvases, I strongly recommend an art supply store. You might have to go in person or accept longer delivery times, but this could potentially save you some money. In my experience, canvases on Amazon cost more. So these are the 3 painting surfaces that I would recommend for beginners. Now let's look at brushes, knives, and some other items. It's really important that you buy the right kind of brushes for acrylic painting. Brushes come with natural bristles and synthetic bristles. As a beginner, go for nylon or polyester brushes and make sure it is written on the packaging label that the brush is suitable for acrylic. Watercolor brushes are too soft and not suitable for acrylic, so avoid those. It's also important to understand the types of brushes. Here are some of the brushes that I use. First is the wash brush. This is mainly used to spread paint on the painting surface. Flat brushes come in different sizes and are used for a range of techniques including precision painting. These are fan brushes. As the name suggests, these brushes have fan-shaped bristles. These can be used to spread paint and also for specific techniques such as painting leaves on trees. I use disposable brushes such as these mainly to paint grass or a field of flowers. These are quite cheap to buy. You can either get these as part of a starter kit or you can find multi-packs of these with 12, 24 or 36 pieces. Then we have Filbert brushes. These have slightly rounded edge and are used for a range of techniques. These are round brushes. They are best suited for fine details, lines, edges and finishing touches. And then we have liner brushes, which are also great for painting lines or writing text. Another useful item in your starter kit would be a piece of sponge. I use smaller pieces of this sponge to create tree leaves and bushes pretty quickly. You may also find them in acrylic beginner sets. Another essential item in beginner's acrylic painting kit is a set of palette knives and painting knives. These could be used to create a variety of effects. I strongly recommend that you go for plastic knives rather than spending money on metallic knives like these if you're just starting out. Here is a top tip for you. If you have any expired plastic cards that you no longer use, like debit cards, credit cards, membership cards or travel cards, those are good substitutes for palette and painting knives. A lot of the tasks that you perform with the knives, such as mixing paint or spreading paint, could be performed with these plastic cards. So you may consider using them and avoid buying these knives. And finally, what we have here are white correction fluid pens. You can use these to create some fine white lines, highlights, or to paint a starry sky. I would highly recommend that you buy it. For beginners' brushes and palette knives, the local supermarket may have some items that you need. However, you may not find all different types of brushes there, but certainly have a look. For missing items, check out Amazon. If you can't find the right products on Amazon, have a look in your local art supply shop. I bought the white correction fluid on Amazon as it was quite cheap. Moving on to the paint sets. For beginners, all I would recommend is to go to the nearest supermarket and buy a starter kit. There is no need to buy expensive paint sets. I bought this pack from a supermarket called Aldi here in the UK. You can also order a starter kit on Amazon. But in my experience, the supermarket brands are cheaper. Go for a set which has 12 or 18 tubes of paint, with each tube being 12 milliliters in volume. This is all you would need to make a start. Over time, I have been receiving acrylic paint sets as gifts from my friends, so I decided to store these small tubes in a tub. This makes it easier for me to reach out and select the paint I need. We use a lot of white and black for mixing with other colors to create different shades, and we will run out of these colors quickly. So I purchased separate 200 ml tubes for these two colors. You might want to consider the same. I also have a 1 liter bottle of white paint. I recently bought a new set of acrylic paints with bigger 36 ml tubes from my local art supply shop. These are plastic tubes and are much easier to handle than the metallic tubes. The metallic ones have a couple of annoying aspects. First is that over time, it gets progressively difficult to squeeze the paint out of the tube. Second is that sometimes the tube breaks and starts leaking paint from the sides. If you don't realize it straight away, it may cause a mess. So my recommendation for beginners is not to spend a lot of money on paint when you're starting out. Go for a maximum tube size of 36 ml for paints, buy some extra black and white, and you will have enough materials for at least a month. Now moving on to some miscellaneous items that you need in your kit. First one is the palette. You can buy a plastic, wooden or a disposable palette. I have used this wooden palette since day one and have never even thought of upgrading it. I cover the palette with some greaseproof baking paper before putting paint on it. This way, all I have to do is to throw away the paper after my painting is done, and I don't have to clean the palette. It's important that you clean the brushes frequently when working with acrylics, otherwise the paint will dry on the brush. I would recommend that you keep 2 bowls of water next to your palette when you're painting. Always clean the brush in the first bowl to remove most of the paint, and then clean again in clear water. Next is the spray water bottle. As mentioned before, acrylic paints dry very quickly, and this will be a nightmare for any beginner painter if you don't know how to keep the moisture in the paint. All you need to do is to spray some water on the top of the paint that is on the palette. This will keep the paint moist and you can use it throughout the painting process. I bought a pair of these bottles from Amazon, and they're quite cheap to buy. And the last item I'm going to talk about is the masking tape. This is quite a handy tool to include in your kit, particularly if you want to protect the edges of your painting from the paint. This tape will keep the edges dry, and once you finish the work, your painting will have these sharp edges, almost as if it is inside a frame. Here's an example. Amazon is best for palette, spray water bottle and masking tape. For cleaning bowls, please don't spend any money. Use any old glass jars or glass bottles. We are nearly at the end of the video, but I have one final advice before you go. Patience and practice are really important in order for us to get better as an artist. So spend time practicing different techniques using various tools that you have before attempting complex pieces. For example, learn different strokes using different brushes, learn different techniques of applying paint, and learn more about colors and mixing. The more you learn and practice, the better you become at painting. I really hope that you found this video useful. If you did, please consider dropping a thumbs up and subscribing to my channel so that you will get notifications whenever I post new videos. If you have any questions on painting materials, please give me a shout and I'll definitely get back to you. Thanks for watching. Stay healthy, stay safe.